afternoon, everyone. My name is Tom Kittredge. I work for the Maine Technology Institute, but I'm here today representing Startup Maine. And I'm very happy to welcome you all to this panel exploring BIPOC entrepreneurship in Maine. This is the second of a three-part series examining some of the opportunities and barriers that BIPOC entrepreneurs encounter in the state. Some of you may have attended our first panel in April. That one focused on the ideation stage of entrepreneurship. Today's panel will tackle the launch stage of entrepreneurship. So what's it like to actually get a business off the ground and running? This panel series is a collaborative effort between the CEI Women's Business Center and Startup Maine, though I should note that our goal is to create a platform for these important conversations and then step to the side. So to that end, in a moment, I'm going to pass it over to our wonderful moderator, Julia, but just a few housekeeping notes first. Please take a moment if you'd like to write your name and where you're based in the chat. And I should say, make sure your chat function is set to public rather than just going to the host. And also throughout the panel, feel free to put questions in the Q&A chat. And later on, Julia will be reading some of them. I also wanted to thank our sponsors who make this panel series possible, the Maine Technology Institute, Maine Angels, and Bangor Savings Bank. A quick word about these organizations. The Maine Technology Institute was founded and funded in 1999 by the Maine State Legislature, and they offer grants, loans, equity investments, and services to support Maine's innovation economy. They support new ideas, products, or methods with the potential to grow and diversify Maine's economy and increase the number of quality jobs across the state. MTI also supports Maine's innovation economy through event sponsorships, such as this one. So thank you very much, MTI. And to learn more and to find out if you're eligible for funding, visit mainetechnology.org. We are also supported by Maine Angels. The Maine Angels are accredited equity investors who help entrepreneurs by investing in and mentoring early stage companies. Their goal is to make sound investments in promising New England entrepreneurs with an emphasis on scalable Maine companies. And you can visit maineangels.org to learn more. And lastly, many thanks to Bangor Savings Bank. And Helen is going to share a little bit about Bangor Savings Bank, so I'll pass it over to her.
Thank you for the introduction, Tom. Bangor Savings Bank is a proud sponsor of this event. Bangor has always prided itself on its commitment to community, particularly our new neighbors, our newest neighbors. We work closely with statewide SBDCs and through our overreach have consistently been the #1 SBA lender in the state. And I'm sure, I hope some of you were recipients of the PPP loans. We were also the #1 PPP lender in the state through the first 2 rounds of that funding. I'm very proud to be a part of Bangor Savings Bank's Main Street banking team, which is dedicated to helping small businesses, startups. We provide services, lending and personal and business needs to help businesses start, prosper, and grow in the state of Maine. So I'm very happy to be part of that and help people reach their dreams and make them come true.
Great, thanks, Helen. So I'm very excited to introduce our moderator today, Julia Trujillo. Julia currently oversees the Office of Economic Opportunity in the City of Portland, which strives to ensure a strong sense of belonging for all, including Portland's racial, ethnic, and linguistic minorities. The office focuses its efforts in 4 key areas: economic development and inclusion, civic inclusion, cultural and social inclusion, and welcomeability. Before her role in the City of Portland, Julia worked for the state of Maine in different capacities. And most recently, she was the director of the Office of Multicultural Affairs at DHHS. And she currently lives in Portland, but she was born and raised in the Canary Islands, Spain, which are located off the Moroccan coast in West Africa. And Julia, I'll let you take it from here.
Thank you so much, Tom. I am delighted and so excited to be here with all of you this afternoon. We have a great panel that we have put together. Recognizing that some of us are right here in Maine and some others are in very far away places around the world. So bear with us as we're trying to manage this technology this afternoon. I will introduce the panel that we have for us this afternoon. we have tried to, or I've tried to really put a panel together that shows a diversity of experiences and wisdom and perspective. My hope is that the audience will get something very practical out of this conversation, and you learn from your neighbors that have started and launched and successful businesses right here in Portland. So I would start with Nikki. Nikki Watler is the co-founder and co-owner of Maiz restaurant in Portland. Welcome, Nikki.
Hi, everyone. My name is Nikki Watler. I'm from Colombia, and I'm co-founder of Maiz, Colombian street food. We have 4 years in business, and I hope, I hope that we can stay more.
Business longer.
Yeah, longer. So thank you so much for the invitation.
We're excited to have you. And then I'll go to Lucy Narukundo. She's the owner of Moriah Market on Cumberland Avenue. Welcome, Lucy.
Hi, my name is Lucy Narukundo. I own a grocery store named Moriah Market, LLC, at 364 Cumberland Avenue in downtown Portland. I have been in this country since 2010. I came alone, so I immigrant. I stay here until for 5 years before my family joined. It was really hard as a mother with 9 children to left all the kids back home in Africa. It was really hard for me, but I'm very grateful for people who helped me to live American life, friends, so especially the CI program, which helped me a lot. So for funding, you know, as an immigrant, I didn't have money to run the business. They helped me for the IDP money for 400. I put 4,000, and they helped me for 4,000. Then I was helping for a lot of people like Claude for Prosperity and Didier from the CI. Then for my friend Becky. Thank you.
Thank you, Lucy. Thank you so much. We'll talk about a lot of those aspects in a few minutes. And then last but not least is Mike Mwenedata, from founder and CEO of Rwanda Bean. Hi, Mike. Welcome.
Hi, Judy. Thank you for having me on this panel. And my name is Mike, and I'm the CEO and the founder of Rwanda Bean. Rwanda Bean started in 2013. I'm originally come from Rwanda. Now I'm a dual citizen. I'm American and Rwandan. We started just with an idea to provide coffee to communities that have welcomed us as an immigrant, and we know in Maine we don't harvest coffee. More we have to bring back from countries that are still underdeveloped country, and Rwanda have to be one of the countries that harvest the best of the coffee. Right now, I'm in Rwanda, working with farmers to provide that coffee that everybody is looking for. I'm in a campaign area, so I'm sorry if my network won't be good, but I tried to make sure that since I starting Rwanda Bean came from the same platform that I'm on the panel today is 7 years ago. So I'm really happy to share the insight and the pathway that I went through to be where we are today. So I'm looking forward to the sharing ideas, and be able to provide maybe some insight to someone like me back 7 years ago who are looking to do something or who are looking to go through the the path that I went through. So I'm happy to be here with you guys, and thank you for having me here.
Thank you so much, Mike. We also had expected to have Quang Nguyen join us, but he may join us in a few minutes. But for now, we're going to get started with the panel and starting with our questions. So my first question, just to get us started, is, do you consider yourself an entrepreneur? When you hear the word entrepreneur, what does that mean to you? Have you always been an entrepreneur? Kind of, that's just an introductory question. Nikki, why don't you start us?
Thank you so much, Julia. So, all right, when we talk about entrepreneur, I consider myself as a business person. I don't really consider entrepreneur. And the reason is merely legal. When you go to a city hall, when you go to the regulations about to open a business, there is no word that says entrepreneur. So just for that simple reason, I would like to consider myself like a business person, and also because when you have, I think when you have 4 years or maybe 4 years in business, and you have seen some struggles in the business area, I think you consider yourself like no entrepreneur. Or no an amateur guy who is just trying to be a business person. So yeah.
Thanks, Nikki. How about you, Lucy? When you hear the word entrepreneur, even I'm having a hard time saying it. What comes to mind?
You know, for me to be entrepreneur, and it's not on the first time I be entrepreneur in this country. So I owned my business back home in 1993. So because I had that dream, I had that idea in my mind, when I came in 2010, I was thinking about my dream. I said, how to be the owner, how to do the same business as I was doing back home, how to running my business here. So that's why. So, and to do something by yourself. So I'm sure that I'm really an entrepreneur.
Thanks, Lucy. How about you, Mike?
Excuse me.
That's a hard question. I think when I immigrated here in the United States, especially, I came straight to Maine. I was 24 years old. I didn't know anything about entrepreneurship, or I was just coming off from undergraduate. But back in the years, my family used to own a business, but I lost them during the genocide, so they were all gone. But I know most of the business they were doing, especially my mom, she was a nurse. My father was an engineer who was building up roads, but the whole idea was about to helping communities. So that inspiration from them inherited in me. So when I come here, I realize in Maine we don't have coffee. We don't harvest coffee. Everything coffee, every Starbucks, Dunkin' Donut, Coffee by Design, Coffee Me Up, or every coffee cup that we drink comes back home. So as I realized that many have given me something, I also gave me the inspiration to think back home for those people who are harvesting the coffee and who are working so hard to provide the coffee to many people. At that time, I was just thinking about many people. So I wasn't, so, and knowing how hard they are working, coming to where I am, I wasn't thinking about money. I was just thinking how can provide something to the community that have gave me the personal life and where I am today. So I started I didn't know anything about entrepreneurship. So I was just looking a way to connect those two both communities from where I came from, have something that people have in Maine, that need in Maine, and what we have back where I came from. That's what I was thinking about. So I started with this platform that I'm talking to today, and that's how I started with an idea. So from that day in 2013, that's when I started learning about the entrepreneurship journey. And so, yeah, it's not an easy journey, but I think it's the same type of, I would say, a step of life that you have to go through. It's the same as if you are starting a career and trying to be a lawyer or trying to be an accountant or try to be a policeman or trying to be. So that's how I started. I started at the same platform. I am a panelist today. That's how I started. So I consider myself both a community person and entrepreneurs at the same time. So that's how I do. Because at the same time, if I can do business, then there is no way to make it work. So
Exactly. So this panel is the second panel that we've had in the series. So this really focuses on the launch stage of things. So kind of you're speaking about that business idea that you had once and that you are trying to bring together both your knowledge and experience from back home into Portland and your philosophy in general as a business owner, as a community member of Portland. But when we think about that ideation, you had an idea and then you launch your business. We talked about that first year being particularly difficult, maybe the first 2 years. So my question to you, and if we can just follow the same order, if it's okay, is how did you survive that first year in business, the first 2 years in business? Did your idea hold you through, or what are some advice that you may have for others who may be in that first year of business and living through the challenges and as well as positive aspects of that first year in business? Nikki?
Thank you, Julia. So, well, that's a really good question. So how we survive? So first, the support that Martha's family did to us, that was a big plus. Their parents, sisters, brother, they were very kind and
Nikki,
Sorry?
Martha is your co-founder, co-owner, and your wife, just for people who don't know.
Yes, that's another topic. So the way that we survived was first the support that Martha's family did to us. Second, the second thing that we could see was like the accountability, like how we manage the money in the business. That was very important. Sometimes it was like a struggle times, but we could survive that moments. But I think the most important is the the most important is accountability, like how you manage the money in the first year of business. That's the most important of everything. And of course, the support that we receive from her family, but also from the people who were like friends and were really close, and they were worried about us, and because they knew that it was going to be a like a difficult or challenging step. So yeah, uh, that was our first year. Just try to make the money was enough to pay.
Yeah.
That was the first year. Oh, and also every time that we have like a challenge, we have to fix it right away, uh, because the idea was to make better the system. So that first year was like a, how to say, like a training session where you fix everything that you need for the system in a future. So
Mhm.
the first year was challenging, but a good like something good to learn
A
and
good test.
to yes. Thank you, Julia. Yes.
How about you, Lucy? When you think back to your first year, what helped you survive?
I came from, thank you, Julie. I came from, my parent was a really, really hard worker, especially my mom. You know, back home, my life was not easy. You know, we have to move all the time to run away country to countries. So all the time when we moved to another country, my mom tried to do the business, you know, how to survive. So when I married, I married in the same life, moved to countries, you know, run away all the time. So, and in 1993, I owned a business. So that make me entrepreneurs. So when I came in this country in 2010, because I had that spirit, I said, how can I do the business in this country? I thought that it's gonna be easy. So after doing it, I found out it's really, really, really hard. It's very, you know, Africa and America are two different worlds. Everything is new here. I was like a blind. So that's why my husband came to join. So my husband came to help me. Then it was really hard to, you know, to the American system, you know, it was very hard. So then when I got a lot of help from my friends and the CI program, so I was able to, you know, to buy machines. You know, it was no hard. I didn't know that I'm gonna use machines. I'm gonna use any equipment. So I bought a lot of equipment, some of them to give me access to be a vendor of the DHHS, and the equipment for the cashier, you know, for the credit card machine, for the debit card machine. So everything was hard for me. And sometimes I cried. I said, why I did this? But, you know, I made my effort until now.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Mike, when you think back to your first year, what is the good, the bad, and the ugly, I guess? What made you survive and keep going with your idea and your dream?
Thank you, Julia, and thank you to my panelists as well for the insight. I know Lucy, I've been shopping from her for various things, even before she been inspiration, because I think me and Lucy, we came in the country at the same time. I came in US in 2010 and see her, me using the City of Poland voucher to go shop from her, and she's providing those things. So and me and my family will still shop from her. So she's been an inspiration. So, but when I go back, as I said, I like helping people. So when I moved to the city of Poland, when I immigrated there, I had nothing and I had to start from somewhere. I was just a new graduate from college and I'm looking a way to build up myself from back home and to something. So, and I really enjoying giving a hand to someone. Just realizing that people in who harvest coffee. When I immigrated to the state, I wasn't a coffee drinker. I never had a cup of coffee in my life. I was drinking Nescafe, this instant coffee, something like that. But I never really had that type of coffee. So coming to the state, going to USM, where every time you ask a classmate or someone to meet and do a group work or a class work, something, and they say, let's meet to the coffee. And we get there and I have to pay $4 or $3 something for a cup of coffee. Made me think, hey, where this coffee come from? So I started understanding how really hard work the farmers do to make the coffee work. And as I always have to think about the community that I left back home, because not everybody is gonna get a chance to come to the United States or to become American or to have access on the opportunity that the Poland is providing to people who immigrate there. So I wanted it to be that type of a bridge that I made it so personal. So that's how I survived the first year, because I wanted it to say, hey, I want to support someone I left back home because I get the opportunity to be here, and I'm looking to use the opportunity that I have been granted to, or that I have been fortunate to have, and so I wanted to use the opportunity I had that to give back. So with that type of mindset, I wasn't thinking that I will make the money in the first year, and I didn't, because in the first 3, 4, 5, or maybe in the first 3 years, I was still doing 2 jobs. I was still trying to run a Rwanda Bean and through my apartment, and at the same time be able to do the jobs on the side and be able to be a full-time student and to run a Rwanda Bean at the same time, those other jobs to pay the rent. But at the same time, run Rwanda Bean as what I really think is gonna provide not just to my family, but at the same time to the communities. So that's what made me survive. What I'm trying to say is, you can choose to say there is all those different entrepreneurship. There is people who can come in and say, hey, this is what I'm providing. You can start making money right away, but there are other things that you're gonna say is it's gonna require a sacrifice and make it work, because the drive is not just to make money. The drive is what is gonna come out of that. So that's what made me survive the first year, the second year, the third year, when I was still being a van driver to the Marriott Hotel and being a full-time student at USM. So that's what made me survive the first year.
Wow. So I think all of you have touched upon kind of what was your like a key learning moment or a key lesson learned from back home? Like, I mean, it's a lot easier to reflect back, I guess, than when you're at that moment doing it. But I am glad that you've had the opportunity to think back and really help those who are watching us today to really understand what those tangible and non-tangible things, like what Mike is talking about, that really that commitment, that drive, that North Star that you're following, that really pushes you through. So if we have to think of something that you think of, the best advice I could give somebody, whether they are struggling right now because they're in year 1 or year 2, or because they're doing all of a sudden really well, and be cautious. Like if you have to give somebody your best advice in this launch stage, what would that be? Something that you have not touched upon already. Lucy, do you want to start, and then Nikki to just change the order a little bit?
Say again, please.
The best lesson. If you had to give somebody the best possible advice, what would that be?
In the business, thank you, Julia. Thank you, the panelists. In the business, there is a lot of lessons. So the first lesson I took in this business was to keep the invoices, you know. So as Africa, you know, as I was saying, Africa and America is 2 different worlds. Everything's a difference, you know. When we came as immigrants, first of all, we are stressful, you know, to live. As me, I was really, really stressful. I was even depressed, you know, to leave the country, to leave the kids as a mother, without even say bye to them, without knowing where you are going. Everything is new. So, you know, it was very hard. I love this country. I love American people for many reasons. You know, when I came, I didn't even have $1. I didn't even have clothes. I was not able to talk even one word in English, you know. So I speak a lot of languages, but I was not able to speak English. When I started the business, everything was hard. As I repeat, I was like blind. You know, American system, it's hard, but we have to learn about. You know, when I go to buy products, so, and when I came, I see, oh my goodness, I'm gonna make $1 or less or more for benefits. So why to keep all American papers? I cut all papers, the receipt, the invoice, I throw it away. You know, I said, I was complaining about papers. I said, how to keep all invoices? So I didn't know that I could even keep invoices for my records. When the City of Poland, I love America because they help us to grow. They help us to stand up. They help us to change our minds. They teach us. Even now we're still learning. So I said, as I say, I learned how to keep invoices. Now I know. When the City of Poland came to ask me the invoice of somebody else, I said, why? I was asking myself, why to keep all those papers? I didn't know that I have to keep it for my lesson. Second,
go ahead.
So, second, I learned about everything, you know, for financing. I didn't know. So I hired a bookkeeper. I didn't know that I will have a bookkeeper. I didn't know that I will have the machine. So I didn't know that I will meet people as you. I didn't know that I'm gonna talk English. You know, everything is a lesson. So then when you work by yourself as an entrepreneur, you have to work hard. I learned how to work. Even back home, I was working hard, but here I work more hard than I was. So that's the lesson I took.
So
there.
bookkeeping and very hard work. How about you, Nikki? If you had to give one advice, the best possible advice to somebody, what would that be?
The same. Track all your inventory, all your money, where your money goes. Like if you are spending too much money in something, check that, because there is a way to reduce that expense. So that's my only advice. In the first year or first 2 years of business, that's the track your money. Yes.
Great
Thanks.
advice.
Thank you, Julia.
Mike? Your best advice.
My best advice, it's gonna be really hard. So my best advice will be, if you're trying to do something, don't be driven by money. Be driven by what you wanna do. Of course, don't get me wrong. At the end of the time, the energy you get behind what you're trying to accomplish, it's what is gonna make you accomplishing it. So sometimes you can say, okay, let me just, I don't know how to say it, but we just opened. We have 3 coffee shops in Portland, Maine right now. Before we had the coffee shop in Rwanda, we just opened the coffee shop. Right now, I'm sitting in the back office of a coffee shop that we just opened in Rwanda. And the company is called Rwanda Bean. And the point is, don't be driven about what you wanna accomplish, but than what you wanna get in the pocket. Because be driven about what your heart is telling you to do. So if you do that, then you will be able to survive whatever it takes you to survive. If you say, hey, I want to be the barista, I didn't know how to be a barista. I learned how to be. Right now, to this coffee shop that we just opened in Rwanda, I'm a barista. And until we can afford it to build up a cash flow that make you to hire a professional barista who's gonna make a drink that you really wanna serve. Otherwise, then if you are thinking about just to make money, so I wake up at 6 a.m. in the morning, which is midnight in the US. And then I have to then go to the coffee farmers to do whatever it takes to harvesting, because right now we are but because I know what drives me is to expose as much as the coffee farmers that I can do. Right now I'm working with 3,000 coffee farmers. And those coffee farmers, the 3,000 coffee farmers that I'm working with, they are making double of what they used to make until I became to work with them. I want to just see the change of the change life in those coffee farmers and those people that are not just coffee farmers, also the people that we are hiring. Before COVID, Rwanda Bean had 18 employees. Those 18 employees, almost I think 20, they were all Americans. They weren't African. They weren't Rwandan, but was happy to see that I can come to a community and be able to be supportive. The community that gave me a fresh start from nowhere to somewhere, and then be able to give back. So I wanted it to be somewhere from, hey, we are to the 18 employees for benefit. How can we get to maybe 30, 36 or 40 and 100 and whatever, or the kid that I went to school with, that will be say, hey, I used to be this. So there are so many factors that can help you be who you really wanna be, and you don't get the money be a driver. And that's my best at it. Just let what you wanna be. It's the same way if your mother can say, hey, I want you to have a good education. Your mother can say, she can give up something. Sorry, one of my staff was putting up a right, so
That's all
guys
right.
can-
That's all right. It would be a good segue into maybe the Q&A from the audience, and I'm sure the audience has some questions for you that I haven't.
That's Pora.
Oh, hello.
It's one of so
Hi.
sorry. She was trying to say the room is getting dark. She was trying to figure out how to make it work. So I'm glad
No
that
problem.
now.
No
So
problem.
my point is like, whatever I started with Rwanda being, I didn't know it's gonna be where it is today. What I wanted is just to give job to Pora right now, who have 4 kids, who can be able back here in Rwanda, back in the US. So that's what's driving me. That's what's driving me to make an effort to make whatever I'm trying to do, to make it work. So that's,
Yeah.
sometimes everybody have its own driver. And I say, if you say truth to what you are trying to, what inspired you to do what you're doing, what inspired Moria, because I know.
Yeah.
Let me go back to Lucy. When she come up, maybe we go to shop to Hannaford and they will say, hey, your voucher doesn't allow to have, your voucher doesn't allow you to have, I would say, organic chicken, or these things. Your voucher from the city of Poland allows you to have this type of food. That's how it was. And
Right.
when you go to Russia, you will get organic chicken, or you will get on the same voucher. If you go to Russia, she will give you beef organic, because you can't go to Whole Food and get the same thing. So I'm sorry, I'm going all the way down because,
This is all helpful.
but that's, I was so glad if I go to Risi and then I say, hey, I don't have money to pay, I have a voucher from the city of Poland. She would say, okay, get the goat, get the bananas, get whatever. And so
Yeah.
I would say, I'm sorry to speak for her, but that was a good example that for her, she gonna say, okay, that's how you're gonna pay, that's fine. Then, so I'm speaking for her, but I think that was one of the driver, because you wanna stay healthy, and she want to provide a platform that is gonna help us stay healthy and like that. And
I think
that's,
many people would agree with you 100% about her store. So that's why it's so successful. But I wanted to make sure that we allow the audience to ask you questions specifically, just to make sure that we have covered most of the material. I know that somebody, I think it was one of my staff actually, asked a question at the beginning. Just something that we did not really talk about was COVID in general and how this has affected your businesses. And the question specifically asks if you have accessed any COVID assistance that has been particularly helpful to you, either PPP, City of Portland assistance, anything that you've accessed that could be helpful to others. Nikki, would you like to start?
Sure. Thank you, Julia. So what was the question? Sorry.
If COVID, have
Okay.
you accessed any
Okay.
assistance like from PPP or the City of Portland or anything like that?
Okay. So what we did is, well, COVID started. We sent everyone home. Marta and I, we worked for 2 months until we knew what was going on and what was going to be the aids for the city of Portland. And yes, in June, I think in June or May, June, we applied for the PPP. We received it and we brought back our employees. However, we decide to apply for a loan, a biggest loan, instead to take help from everyone.
From others. Yeah.
Yeah. So we decide because we knew that this pandemic, it was going to last probably 2-3 years. So we decide to apply for a big loan to survive the pandemic, but also to survive the winter and survive the rest of the year. So, all right, so to survive the rest of the year, winter, and this year that is coming. So that's what we did. It was a little bit hard because we had to work just Marta and I at the beginning, and but 2 months later we brought our employees and we start with PPP and everything went. Also, I wanna like highlight the support of the community. Like the community was key. Like they were very supportive and they really like they were amazing, I have to say. And Marta and I, well, now that you guys have this uh, uh, this program, I wanna just to thank you. If we have customer in the panels, we have to thank you because really truly they help a lot. That's yeah.
I think that's a common theme between all of you, that you're just very community conscious, not just a business owner. How about you, Lucy? How about COVID? Just quickly, because we are running out of time and I think we have other questions to go through. What have you accessed any assistance that has been very helpful to your business?
Okay, thank you, Julia. Thank you also, Mike, for saying something about my store. I'm very appreciative. So if I said about COVID, I can even cry. I lost a lot of money for COVID. I plan to open another store, another branch on Forest Avenue. Unfortunately, when I was waiting for the license, the pandemic came. So I could not get a license. I wait for license for 8 months. And then every month I have to pay the rent. So when I got the license, the person who I trust, who's supposed to work for me, he changed his mind. So as I was waiting for the person to work for me, I didn't get any. All those months, I paid the rent for a year without working in. You see the money I lost. So I lost a lot of money. When I said about COVID, I cried because I lost a lot of money. So why I plan to open another branch? The things Mike said, I was saying that I'm gonna say that in the conclusions because I have the good food. I have the foods all the people they like. I have organic food. I have food without sugar. You know, in American foods, everything is sugar. We didn't have a chance to get to eat sugar all the time. That's one of the reason makes me to open the store, because I was complaining with food with beans with sugar, rice with everything is sugar. So when I was heard about a lot of complaining about people, so I got if I open a store with African food, you know, African food are really healthy. So that's why I am very successful. So I have a lot of clients, they like it. So, but we lost a lot of money about the COVID.
Yeah.
And then I got the PPP loan grant. I got the grant from the city hall, but they are enough. They are not enough because, you know, we don't know about, we have the barrier for the language. We don't know American system. That's why we can't access for everything. Please, please, we are very aware. I'm very aware for everything. No, I'm not aware for everything. If you know something, let us know. Sometimes, I'm saying all the time, sometimes we do the mistake without purpose. You know, even the City of Poland, I'm always at the City of Poland to ask favor, and they helping me a lot. I'm very, very thankful for the City of Poland. You know, please let us know. Okay. We have a lot of barrier. We're still learning, and I'm very thankful for everything you do for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Lucy. Quang, welcome. A little late, but we're talking about COVID. How have you accessed any assistance that maybe have helped you in these rough times in those last 18 months?
Hey, hi, Julia. Sorry, it's a little late. I have it in my calendar at 2 p.m. instead of 12. But yeah, I mean, I did got some help from the PPP and the EIDL loan for the restaurant. I got hit hard, but I'm glad I was able to diversify my business and my income a little bit, so that when it hit, you know, one of my business, but it's not the other. I was able to apply for the PPP for actually 3 of my businesses, and apply for the EIDL loan for one of them to survive through the pandemic. I mean, still got the impact on the restaurant in South Portland, but you know, overall, you know, it's been a great help, you know, for cash flow, especially when, you know, you open a restaurant the day after the pandemic hit Portland, and your income go down to zero from, you know, $5,000-$6,000 a day. You know, it's very hurtful, so very painful. So yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Quang. How about you, Mike, quickly, as we're trying to wrap up the panel? Oh, there he is. Any COVID lessons? We are on mute. Oh, we cannot hear you. You're muted.
So sorry. I'm trying to use the, yeah. Sorry, Julia, and the audience. COVID have been really hard. Things was going in the right direction, and when the COVID came, I was here for just a few weeks to visit to the family, and to actually to my wife's family. Most of my family have went away from the genocide, but the time to come back, then the COVID hit, and I didn't know what to do because I was thousands of miles away, and then I have to figure out how to make it to whatever I'm trying to build that can be a successful. So then we got the baby and it was very, 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 very hard. So the PP, whatever opportunity that we can get, we tried to apply, we tried, and I'm very grateful for the community, for the city, I'm really grateful for everybody that tried, the lawmakers who are trying to make this whole be a session like very easier to process whatever you worry when it comes to e-signature or when it comes to whatever you can. So
Yeah.
I tried to use as much as opportunities that were available to make us survive. It's still really hard because we lost as at least maybe 50% of our employees, and we tried to hire them and make them all go on tuition. And sometimes it's really hard, but I'm glad that we are still here and we are still going on, and hopefully we're gonna come out strong and make it work. So
that's what I was gonna say. You're still here, and you're as strong as always. So that's a great sign that that you were able to access some needed help at the time. And I think you always go back to community, always thanking the community in Portland to support you and the city. So I know we could go on for hours with our panelists. I encourage you to visit their businesses and hear more from them and continue to support them. But we have to wrap it up for today. I just want to thank you on my behalf. I am so grateful that you're part of our community and that we're able to support you as much as we can. And thank you for CI for hosting this and Startup Maine. I look forward to seeing everybody in the third panel part of the series. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting us.
Everyone.
Thank you, Julia.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for the panelists.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.